All right, let's jump right into it. We're talking about one of the most fundamental, most critical parts of management: planning. I mean, this is the process that takes a brilliant idea, maybe one that was just scribbled on a napkin, and turns it into an actual successful reality. Because without a plan, you're really just hoping for the best. So does this feel familiar? You know that feeling, right? Everyone is super busy, keyboards are clacking away, the calendar is packed with meetings. But when Friday rolls around, you look back and think, what did we actually get done? It feels like you're running on a hamster wheel. Lots of motion, but zero progress. And that, right there, is almost always a symptom of a much bigger problem. And this image, well, it just captures that chaos perfectly. You can have a team of absolute geniuses, a whiteboard overflowing with innovative, game-changing ideas. But if you don't have a clear, structured plan to back it all up, all that amazing energy just scatters. It turns into noise, confusion, and, you guessed it, a ton of wasted effort. We end up being busy, but not productive. So, how do we fix this? How do we take all that raw energy and actually channel it into something useful? The answer, of course, is planning. But this isn't about creating boring documents that just sit in a folder somewhere. It's about building a real framework for success. So let's break down the 6 core reasons why every single manager needs to plan. You know, what's really cool here is how all of these benefits are connected. They work together like gears in a machine. A solid plan gives everyone a North Star, a clear, shared direction. And once you have that, everything else starts to fall into place. It naturally reduces uncertainty, it cuts down on wasted effort, and it makes sure that all the different teams are actually working together instead of in their own little silos. And in the end, it gives you the standards you need to measure what success even looks like. It's a whole system. But here's the thing. Not all planning is created equal. We're not talking about a couple of vague ideas you just keep in your head. No, we're talking about something way more powerful. We're talking about formal planning. And this is where the magic really starts to happen. Okay, so let's get a clear definition here. The key takeaway is that planning isn't just one thing. It's actually a 3-part process. Think of it like a road trip. First, you set your destination. Those are your goals. Then you figure out the best route to get there. That's your strategy. And finally, you get into the details of the journey itself. Those are the specific plans that coordinate all the work along the way. Let's make this even simpler. Informal planning is like trying to give a friend directions to your house from memory. You know, take a left at the big tree, then a right after the weird-looking mailbox. They might get there, but it's risky. Formal planning, on the other hand, is like handing them a GPS with the route already plugged in. It's written down, it's shared, it's specific, and it's for a set time period. It just eliminates all the guesswork and gets everyone on the exact same page. Okay, so we've got a formal plan. But how does a huge, ambitious company vision, like we're going to be the #1 leader in our industry, actually translate into what a person does on a random Tuesday morning? Well, it happens through different layers of planning that stack on top of each other, kind of like a pyramid. So it all starts at the very top with strategic planning. This is the 30,000-foot view. The CEO and the other senior leaders are looking years, maybe even a decade, into the future. They're asking the really big questions. Where is our industry headed? What's our unique place in it? These are the broad, long-term goals for the entire organization. Then that big vision gets handed down to middle management. And their job is to translate those huge strategic goals into tactical plans. This is where things get more concrete. So if the big strategic goal is to expand market share, a tactical plan might be something like, okay, we're going to launch 3 new products in the next 18 months, using the teams and the budget we have right now. And finally, we get down to the ground level with operational planning. This is where the first-line managers, your team leads, your supervisors take those tactical plans and shatter them into daily and weekly tasks. This stuff is super detailed. Who is doing what? When is it due? And exactly how are they going to do it? This is literally where the grand vision becomes a to-do list. This diagram just lays it all out so perfectly. You can see exactly how that high-level mission statement cascades all the way down. It flows from goals to objectives and KPIs. Those are your key performance indicators, the metrics you use to track progress, and then finally into the individual tasks for every person on the team. The beautiful part is that every single action at the bottom can be traced right back to the company's main purpose at the top. That is what we call alignment. But of course, you don't use the same plan for every single situation. I mean, you wouldn't use a sledgehammer to hang a picture frame, right? It's the same idea in management. Managers have a whole toolkit of plans, and the trick is knowing which one to pull out for the right job. And we can basically classify any plan by asking 4 key questions. First, what's its breadth? Is it broad and strategic, or is it narrow and operational? Second, what's the time frame? Long-term or short-term? Third, how specific is it? Is it a detailed checklist or more of a general guideline? And finally, how often are you going to use it? Just once or over and over again? Let's zoom in on that last one, because you see these all the time. A single-use plan is exactly what it sounds like. It's for a one-off event. Think about the project plan for launching a new website. Once the site is live, you're done with that plan. A standing plan, on the other hand, is for things you do all the time. This is your company's expense policy or the standard procedure for requesting time off. They're there to provide consistent guidance again and again. Now, this whole top-down cascade of goals that we've been talking about, it sounds great in theory, right? It's logical, it's orderly, but it has one major weakness. When goals are just handed down from one layer to the next, something incredibly important can get lost along the way. And this is basically the corporate version of the game telephone. You know the one. Top management has this clear, noble objective. We need to improve the company's performance. But by the time that message trickles all the way down to an individual employee, it gets warped into something like, just work faster, don't worry about quality. The original meaning, the intent, is completely gone. And look, this isn't some rare fringe issue. The data is pretty shocking. Nearly half of all employees, a whopping 44%, feel that their leaders don't do a good job of communicating the organization's purpose and direction. Think about that. That is a massive disconnect. So, what's the fix? Well, the solution actually came from the legendary management guru Peter Drucker, way back in the 1950s. It's an approach called management by objectives, or MBO for short. And the most important word in that whole definition is right there, collaboratively. And this quote just gets right to the heart of it. MBO is not about managers dictating goals from on high. It's about a conversation. It's a process where managers and their employees actually sit down together and come to a mutual agreement on what needs to be achieved and how they're going to measure success. So here's how it actually plays out. First, you still need to align the goals from the top down so that everybody is pulling in the same direction. But then, and this is the absolute game changer, the employees themselves are actively involved in setting their own specific objectives. This creates a powerful sense of ownership. And from there, together, they create detailed action plans to make it happen. But the process doesn't just stop once the plan is made. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. Managers and employees check in regularly to monitor progress with clear metrics. And when it comes time for a performance review, it's not based on some vague feeling. It's evaluated directly against the very goals the employee helped create. And finally, when those goals are met, that success is recognized and rewarded, which just reinforces the whole cycle. And all of this leaves us with one final big thought to chew on. Truly effective planning isn't just about making a better to-do list. It's about creating connection and purpose and meaning. So the question to ask yourself is this. In your team, in your work, are you just assigning tasks? Or are you collaborating with people to build a truly shared mission? Because that difference, well, it's everything.